Hello, everyone. Welcome to my podcast series 10 in 10, when we ask 10 questions in 10 minutes from industry leaders in design, engineering, real estate in Toronto. My name is Arash Etadali. I'm with CAS Interiors. We are a construction management firm specializing in tenant improvement in GTA. My first case today is Figure 3. They're one of the leading design firms in Canada. With 25 years of business success, Figure 3 is an award-winning, independently owned interior design firm influencing how people work, live, and explore. Leveraging design-based research and brand strategy, Figure 3 helps its client realize an environment which achieves the best human-centric connection between people and place. Based in Toronto, Canada, Figure 3 has a studio of 60-plus design professionals working in workplace, retail, residential, and hospitality. Our first guest is Eric Urat. Eric was hired as a senior team leader at Figure 3 in 2006 with a focus on project management. Eric Urat managed countless projects for some of the world's leading brands such as Coca-Cola, Samsung, Procter & Gamble before becoming a principal. Eric finds inspiration in helping designers and clients better understand how informed design can truly connect people with place. Within Figure 3, it's all about the culture for Eric, and he's committed to helping expose the design teams to other forms of creative thinking as well as new methods of creative exploration. Our second guest is Suzanne Wilkinson, other partner at Figure 3. Climbing the ranks from senior team leader to principal at Figure 3, Suzanne Wilkinson understands the power of design. Working with some of the most prominent companies across North America over the past 20 years to design beautiful and engaging spaces in workplace, residential, and retail. Suzanne is passionate about leading clients and the Figure 3 team through a strategic and interactive design process, starting with what is most important, a company core values. Intensely curious about the impact design environments have on improving people's lives, she is committed to promoting the value of design. Thank you to both Eric and Suzanne for joining me for this conversation. I hope you find it helpful and informative. Please send me your comments or feedbacks. You can reach me directly via my email at arash@casinteriors.com, or you can send a private message via LinkedIn. Again, enjoy this conversation. Thank you for listening. Be happy, healthy, and safe. Here's my conversation with Figure 3. Okay, well, thank you both, Eric and Suzanne, for joining me. I appreciate that. Let's dive into the questions immediately. My first question to you is, tell us how you and your organization have been adjusting with the new circumstances around COVID-19 in a short term.
Well, everyone deployed and was working, immediately within 48 hours. We deployed everybody originally working from home, and it's pretty amazing how quickly everybody adapted to the new realities.
Right.
And one of the things that we found that was really important was that we knew that we were going to miss was kind of the cultural connection between our staff. And we put in place weekly 4:00 cocktail meetings to stay connected, talk about, all the good and bad and ugly things about COVID, and also just, allowing people to not talk about work and just stay connected. Because everybody's circumstances are different, of course, what their home life is. And so we wanted to make sure that people didn't feel isolated or left behind. So we have our weekly staff meetings. We also have our monthly town hall meetings that encompass everyone, and they're really interactive. And so it's really helped us stay bonded together.
Sure thing.
I think we've also noticed that because the boundaries between work and home are different now, because we're living in the same circumstance constantly, is people have had to develop different habits or different rituals to help them separate or reestablish a work-life balance. And that's that's been difficult for a lot of people. It's been relearning what we need to separate work from personal life.
Absolutely, that makes sense. So, which will bring me to the next question: is what are the long-term plans, and how do you think the pandemic will affect those plans?
I don't think our long-term plans have been impacted that much. I mean, where we want Figure 3 to go, what we have in mind for Figure 3 doesn't change. I think it's changed the way that we think about how to approach design. It's changed. It's going to change the value proposition that design represents to the world. And Figure 3 is certainly on the forefront of that to understand the opportunity.
That makes sense.
Yeah, and I think from our business goals perspective, that hasn't changed. We're still looking to grow and expand across Canada, United States, and hopefully beyond more borders. So those particular types of goals haven't changed. It's just really how we're going about it that might be a little bit different than before.
Of course, and I also, we all know that Figure 3 does retail and residential. And do you guys see any difference of with pandemic happening to any of those, or any of them changing after pandemic? Or more effective?
Yeah, most definitely. With seeing the 3 different sectors is really interesting for us as a business, because we have some that stopped immediately. Retail was hit very hard and immediate. And workplace as well is changing, as you may be aware of and have experienced yourself. And then our residential department is booming and expanding faster than we can imagine. So it's being a diversified company is really quite, it's just great to be diversified, to be able to withstand, these types of unexpected challenges.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah. Suzanne raises a good point that we have the benefit of working across a number of sectors. And it's really illustrated that the pandemic didn't just kibosh everything. Everything didn't just come to an absolute standstill. In fact, it fueled, on one side it hindered, and on the other side it accelerated. So it's been tremendously disruptive, but not just to the point that it's flattened everything. It's been very intriguing to see what it's actually, by domino effect, as it's propelled, and what it's actually hindered.
Right. Absolutely. Now, we're all aware of the negative impacts the pandemic has had on business and our way of life, all of that. Tell me, can you think of anything positive that has come out of this for you personally or for your organization?
Yeah, for sure. One of the really positive, I'm coming at it from a business owner perspective, but we have completely changed our financial systems, where our weekly reports are now daily, our monthly reports are now weekly, and our quarterly reports are now monthly. And it's really given us, we're much more nimble now in understanding what's happening, and which I think will benefit us long term as far as being able to run our business. And so we've learned the benefits of that, and that's a great outcome for us.
That is a great.
It's affected due diligence. It's affected, but we've become much more efficient. I can't count the number of times that I've and I forget who I first heard it from, but the number of times that I've told people that we are still in the midst of the largest workplace pilot ever conceived by humans. We are learning so much about what we need out of our office, how we work, how we need to collaborate, what culture means, what corporate culture means. And this is just within our industry of a window of what we're learning. In the worlds of psychology, we're learning so much about people. So the abundance of knowledge that will come out of this from the trailblazers that are really seeing this as the opportunity to learn is incredible.
That's a good point.
And it's inspiring.
Yeah, and our own skepticism of working from home is now gone, because our staff has stepped up to the plate and proven to all of us that we can successfully work from home and still deliver our projects to our clients. So I'd say that's a really great story to share as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, what are your thoughts on how this pandemic will affect the future of office in our industry? Obviously, my questions are very general. This is unprecedented. Our way we feel or we think may change, but it's good to know how you feel as industry leaders right now and how you think this pandemic is affecting or will affect our industry.
You take that on, Suzanne.
Oh, well, definitely the appetite for employees to work how, where, and when they want to work is at the forefront for sure about what the future of the workplace needs to be. We have seen, from the early risers to the ones that just don't sleep at night because that's when they actually work their best. It's really quite interesting. And that, of course, is something we need to manage with the people and making sure that they understand kind of the difference between, their home life and their work life. So finding that balance is really important. But I think that providing staff, the choice and variety is really going to make business owners, rethink what their investment is in their real estate and what it needs to do, like what muscle it needs to flex for the business. Because our preconceived ideas of what an office needs to be is changing now. So.
And following what Suzanne was saying, the value of office real estate to company owners will shift now, because company owners, executives have seen firsthand not only how they are capable of working remotely and from home, but how their entire staff are able to work very efficiently or efficiently to some extent from home. So what is the office for anymore? Everybody agrees, I think, that there is still need for the office, but the office needs to be more relied upon as that hub or that connector of culture and that place that people rely upon to feel part of something bigger.
Right.
It's no longer I need you to be in your seat from 9 to 5 so I can see you working. It's a place you want to build, a place where people want to come to feel connected. And
right.
that will change the investment in the real estate. It will change, I think, the amount of real estate that people need to pour money into.
All right. That makes a lot of sense. And with that, one thing I've noticed in our industry, technology has become is starting to become more and more important. Obviously, working remote, working from home, sharing data, and all those. At CAS, we used this past 2-3 months when we invested into 2 new technology softwares that we feel is going to help us provide the same level of service remotely to our clients. Now, have you guys thought about this? Has there been anything on the technology side, on design and architect side that you guys have looked at and you think it might make an effect in the way we do business?
Most definitely. I think, we're so used to as designers to be face-to-face and collaborative with our clients. And when we do our visioning sessions and our interviews, we're usually there and we can observe behavior and we can partake in the conversations. And, when people are there, you can read between the lines and get a sense of a company's culture. And so now that we can't do that for the time being, we have been exploring new technologies that can help us do and perform virtual workshops where we can interact with the clients. We can get real-time feedback. It could be anonymous or non-anonymous, and be able to do that kind of exploration, which is really exciting and interesting for us. And we found that this is actually starting to make us, open up opportunities for us, because what we would normally have to jump on an airplane and cross the country and meet a client out west to do this type of session. Now, we may have new opportunities to expand and think bigger and maybe more global on being able to do this through technology.
Absolutely.
One of the things that, just to expand, one of the things that I really get excited about as well is what it's doing to our understanding of the creative process. Figure 3 has always been has always taken steps or made efforts to expose our designers to different avenues in the creative world, whether it's fine arts or whether it's performance or any avenue that expands people's understanding of how different aspects of the arts design approach creative solutioning. And that helps our designers have a bigger sense or understanding of what the creative process is. What this circumstance has forced us into is to explore technologies that allow us to collaborate in different ways and approach creative solutions in different ways that just further expands our designers' understanding of what the creative process can be.
Right.
So many designers come out of design school assuming that, as long as they've got their tracing paper and their pen, then that is the creative process.
Right.
But Figure 3 has always driven designers to understand that there are worlds more out there as far as what creativity and creative solutioning is.
Fair enough. That sounds good. Now, obviously, being one of the leaders in Canada in design and architect as you are, what I like to know is what kind of advice you have for your industry in this pandemic, in this unprecedented times we are going through.
Well, I think we alluded to it earlier. If we want to push the boundaries of design, designers should be constantly looking for the opportunity. To not dwell on the obstacles, but what an opportunity this presents. And it's hard to do that because the news every day is not pleasant, and there are ups and downs. But as designers and design thinkers, we should constantly be putting the lens on this as to what are the opportunities? How is this going to change? How is this going to propel design? And I would encourage all of the design industry, architecture, design, engineering, everybody out there to constantly look for the opportunity.
I gave the example to Eric yesterday when we were talking about this. I see it kind of similar to like the climate change issues and sustainability issues that organizations have had to change their companies to evolve their practices to overcome these types of threats. And COVID is just another threat that we need to rethink how we're going to overcome it and see it as an opportunity for positive change.
That's fair. That makes a lot of sense. Now, what kind of advice do you have for a company like us, the general contractors? What can we do?
Stop bothering the designers.
For more work.
I have something to add. I think
Please do.
Where you were going earlier, Arash, was investing in technologies to keep people informed, keep the information flowing between consultants, clients, and what's really happening on site. I think one of the first barriers we had was, sites are continuing, but we don't want to, we can't go. And are there other ways that we can, observe what's happening on site, troubleshoot, and we have found ways to stay connected, despite the fact that we're trying to, avoid people coming together in large groups. And so, I just think there's an exciting opportunity here to close that gap of communication from site to consultants and client to keep us all informed and maybe be able to troubleshoot more quickly. And so I see the benefit in that for sure, instead of all of us jumping in our cars and driving an hour and a half to a site and back, and all of those hours, where you're not necessarily as productive, and something we could have addressed fairly quickly. So I would be really excited to see that type of communication improve.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Like I mentioned at CES, we kind of were scratching our heads for the past few months. What can we do to improve? And now with having issues with physical presence on our site, we had to look at ways, and we recently just purchased the software where a site super can put a camera on his helmet and go through the site, and designer and the client and the engineers, everyone in a real time, they can see where in drawing he is without you going to the site. That eliminates all that need for anyone to go on site and be physically present. So I completely agree with you, and that's a direction we've taken as well.
Fantastic.
That's really good advice. Thank you. And finally, what kind of advice you have for our clients, people? I think I share my personal view. I see that now with this capability of everyone working from home, everyone is jumping the hoop and saying, oh, maybe we don't need offices anymore. Maybe the clients are thinking maybe we don't need, which I personally disagree, because I think workplace is not just a physical place for the employees to come and do their work. It's where you share ideas, it's where you communicate, and where you get the energy. Now, what kind of advice you guys have for our clients or people who are thinking about renovating their office or moving or staying put? What do you think?
I would say, I mean, you're going down the right road, Arash. We've talked to many of our clients that some of whom were already much more progressive in their workplace model, that made it easier for them to adapt to this than others.
Right.
So the pressure that this is going to put on people coming out of this pandemic, the pressure that it's going to put on companies relative to their staff having more appetite for choice and flexibility is going to be just amplified. So we would encourage our clients or any number of company owners out there to understand that the role of the office will change. It was already changing moving into this. This will simply accelerate that change. So to recognize that if you are not one of those companies that was already taking steps to providing workspaces that were more adaptable, conducive to providing their staff with choices, then you were and will definitely already be behind in the evolution of workplace. So understand that the role of workplace is going to change.
Absolutely, it will. That's a very good point.
And being a multi-sectored interior design firm, I'm relating this to what retailers have been doing for years, is that when you think about visiting a retail store, you think about this immersive retail experience that the customer has with the brand.
You're right.
And I believe going forward that this is having this human-centric, immersive office experience is really what your space is going to be about. It's about how are you connecting to the brand of your company? Why are you going there? Who are you collaborating with? What are you doing in that space? How are you greeted? How do you feel when you're there? And it's very much like what retailers have been doing for many years. And I think we can take a lot of interesting cues out of that.
That's a really good point. I agree with that. Now, we want to end the conversation with something fun. Now, God knows we all have you could use some positivity and feel good story. Can each one of you share any funny or personal story that have happened to you since the pandemic started?
I think so many of.
You want the one we scripted or the real?
Yeah. The real one.
We'll give you the unscripted one and the scripted. Yeah.
No, please. You know what? This is a conversation. Don't be.
I think so many, and this has been really interesting for me as well, because it's much more about it's part of the humanistic side, human-centric side of all of this. That these sorts of interactions, this sort of technology. There's been so many stories that have been covered social media, and people have to talk about things that have happened in the midst of these types of meetings, because people are working amongst their families. They're working amongst like everything that's happening around them.
Right.
So there's the classic one of somebody that thinks that their video's off and they get up and walk away and they're in their boxer shorts or something like that.
That's true. Or the kid running around in the back.
What's fascinating for me is that it's broken so many barriers, broken so much ice.
That's true.
So far as our appreciation of each other, we've allowed ourselves to relax a bit and recognize we're all going through this together. And it's just made us a little, as the best I can say is it's made us a little bit more human.
More human. I agree. That's a very good
So
point.
a little bit of what happens here is a little bit of our personal lives spills into our professional lives, and it just has to happen. I was on the phone on a call. It wasn't a video conference. It was a audio conference, and this project manager in the U.S. she went off the air suddenly, we didn't know where she went. She came back on, and she had to apologize because her 2-year-old couldn't get her mother's attention, and wanted to explain that she'd done a number 2 by putting the diaper on the table.
That definitely gets the attention. Good for him.
That's why she had to hang up and disappear. It's hilarious.
That is funny.
Yeah, I would agree. I think a really great story to add to that is for sure that people are not. There's less emphasis now on perfection, and there's a little bit more tolerance for one another with our lives. You can see right into people's homes.
That's true.
You see their. We had a client, Erica and I were on a conversation. We were actually being interviewed by our client, and it wasn't video, but we could hear all of a sudden this guy's wife hand over his newborn baby, like in the middle of this interview.
Your turn.
Like, your turn, and just like put the baby on his lap, and he's like, oh, I've got my newborn in my arms now, and you could hear the baby. And that's intimate. Like, that's really intimate. So I've met babies and pets and wives and husbands and all kinds of people, which really does, give you a lot.
And it does something. Like, we all recognize it does something. It doesn't hinder relationships being built. It actually helps relationships being built because it adds the human element to
absolutely. And I agree. I think that's a great point. When not that it's the same, but anytime a tragedy happens, I remember when September 11 happened, we were all looking at glued to TV and thinking how the world is going to move on from this. And I think as a society, we did move on, and we became a better society. We built a bit of tolerance. We understood each other better. And I like to think this tragedy will do the same. Will make us a stronger, better, more efficient at what we do. And like you guys said, to give it the human face to everyone. And we're, at the end of the day, whatever we work or what we do, we're human, and we're fathers and sons and husbands and wives and all that. So that's a very good point. Well, guys, thank you very much. I appreciate the time. I really learned. I hope to talk to you guys soon, and we can do more.
It's been good.
Yeah.
Ash, I think you're missing your calling with your headphones and your microphone.
I was going to say, he looks like a DJ.
I know.
Listen, I'm not being getting a lot done. I might as well look the part.
Well, great that you're doing this, and thank you for thinking about us.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
I appreciate it, Arash. This is great.
Thank you. Nice to see you both. Thank you again. I appreciate it. Have a good one. Ciao.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.